Okay. And just so that the folks on the call know, just housekeeping. So we're going to record this, and then we're also going to send out the slides afterwards. So don't feel like you have to like feverishly write notes or any of this information down. So we'll have the recording as well as the slides to provide. Um, yeah, 11:06. I think we can probably kick this thing off. So welcome everybody. We can go ahead and get started. So thank you for carving out some time today. I know calendars are busy and full, so we appreciate you taking the time to join us. So I am Sarah O'Brien. I'm the grants coordinator with Mass MEP. I am joined here by Mary Beth, who is the program manager with Commonwealth Corporation. She's going to share the Workforce Training Fund program, General Express, walk us through the eligibility, funding levels, how it works. And also I have Joe here, my colleague. He is the business development advisor with Mass MEP, and he is the boots on the ground guy. He is going out working with the manufacturers of Massachusetts, and we have worked together, and he has put forth some successful training programs through the Workforce Training Fund. So I'm excited to have both of their expertise on the panel today. And basically, our hope for this is just so that everybody can walk away with a more clear understanding of whether the general or express, is a fit for your company and how Mass MEP can best support you through that. So with that, I will share my screen and Mary Beth, uh, you can get started.
Sure, of course. So I think, good morning, everyone. My name is Mary Beth Beatrice, and I'm a senior program manager at the Workforce Training Fund with ComCore. And we're going to hold questions. We're going to answer those at the end, correct? I just want to, so
Yes,
I'll go.
thank you. We will, so yes, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat or the Q&A box, and then we will have time at the end to get to those. So we'll be sure to answer as many as we can.
Excellent. Well, thanks so much for having me, Sarah, Joe, folks at MEP, and thanks for the folks who are listening here for your time today. Um, Next slide. I'm going to turn that on. Okay, excellent. So I work for the Commonwealth Corporation, or ComCore for short, and ComCore is a quasi-state organization that is under the Massachusetts Executive Office of Workforce Development. ComCore does workforce programming across the state in various different capacities, but the Workforce Training Fund that I'm going to talk about today focuses on training and upskilling your current workforce, your incumbent workforce. Next slide, please, Sarah. So the Workforce Training Fund program delivers grants to Massachusetts employers for skill training their current and newly hired employees. Its purpose, it's financed through state funds, not federal funding. And its purpose is to help Massachusetts employers become more competitive in this global market and to help the Massachusetts employees with their job growth, skills, retention with their organizations. Training is delivered by a training provider of your choice. Grants range from a few $100s up to $200,000. And as I said, it is under the Executive Office of Labor and Workforce Development. I will say that really the Workforce Training Fund, we're heavily invested in small businesses in Massachusetts. Of the 1,600 businesses that we served last year, 84% of them had 50% or fewer employees. So that is one of our priority businesses, small businesses. And each year we award approximately $25 million to Massachusetts businesses. And next slide, please. All right. So grants can cover topics, subject matter ranges, really virtually anything under the sun. Anything that has to do with work skills. These are just a few of the options that folks choose for training, some of the more popular ones. AI is one that's really taking off now, as you can probably imagine. But the range of topics includes a whole lot more than this. This is just a few. So, and next slide, please. The eligibility requirements for the grant. So businesses, you need to be compliant with obligations to state agencies. Specifically, you need to be up to date on your unemployment insurance, and we do need a certificate of compliance from the Department of Unemployment. You need to be in good standing with the Department of Revenue in Massachusetts, and we do require a certificate of good standing. We need a W-9. And then also only W-2'd employees working in Massachusetts may participate. So no temp contract folks, 1099 folks, people that are working outside of Massachusetts can participate. And employees that are going through the training need to be paid their regular wages. So basically trainings on company time. And that's going to be, yes, thank you. All right, nice. So the eligibility requirements specifically, the funds are available only to employers who contribute to the Workforce Training Fund through the Massachusetts Unemployment Insurance System. So the Workforce Training Fund is a component of unemployment, and really virtually all for-profit companies in Massachusetts who are up to date paying those unemployment funds um, are eligible to apply for the grant. Uh, Many nonprofits, smaller nonprofits are as well. Um, Nonprofits that make quarterly unemployment payments are eligible. Larger nonprofits like hospitals or universities, those folks usually pay, they're self-employed and they pay a different rate into unemployment and they don't contribute. And it's also only for private employers, no government entities or municipalities or such. So it's the basics of it. Next slide, thank you. All right, so there are two different grants within the Workforce Training Fund program, the Express program and the General program, and I'm going to talk about both of them today. The first program, the Express program, is eligible to businesses that have 100 or fewer employees in Massachusetts. And their grants that are smaller, it's up to $15,000 per organization per calendar year, and up to $3,000 per employee per course. And the general program's a bigger grant. It's open to companies of any size, including consortiums, groups of employers getting together for a grant. And the minimum amount for a general program grant is $10,000 and the maximum is $200,000. And it's a 2-year customized training program. All right. And next slide, please. All right. And I'll talk about the Express program first. The Express program, like the name implies, is fast. It's the Express program. It's an easier, non-competitive process to apply for off-the-shelf training. And again, it's 100 or fewer Massachusetts employees. You can apply anytime throughout the year. It's open. Approval comes within 21 days. It's first come, first serve for funds. It's a streamlined process for easy access. It's a short application, and there is a directory of over 4,000 pre-approved courses that are on the website that you can choose from. And you send off your application, and if you receive an award, you complete the training and submit a reimbursement for up to 100% of those training funds. Like the like the other grants, the training needs to take place on company time. Last year in Massachusetts, we gave away $14.6 million in Express program grants to Massachusetts employees. Just under 1,500 employers were served with a grant, and just under 14,000 people were trained which is great. Excellent. And here we have our fancy little graphic. So the Express program really is a quick, fast program, off the shelf. Want to emphasize that. Um, once once you decide on some training, up in the right-hand corner of the slide, you'll see a little picture of the Express directory. You click in and can check out the courses. You pick your course, you gather your compliance pieces, those unemployment pieces, Department of Revenue, W-9, all of that. You apply for your funding, you get a quick DocuSign if you are awarded, you sign off, and you can just start your training, whether that's someplace that a staff member's going to, or you have a trainer coming in, whatever the arrangement is. You then pay for the training and you submit the information to us and we reimburse for that. And that is the Express program. The next program is the General Grant Program, and it is a different animal. It is a bigger grant, and it requires a more in-depth look at an organization's training needs. It can go up to $200,000, so this is a bigger 2-year grant. Again, like I said, any size employer is eligible to apply, and applicants, your organization can use your own training vendor, you source them. It's a custom designed training plan for your organization and your need. I will say that when you're applying for a general program grant, because this is a more competitive grant, you want to think strategically about your business needs and a problem that you may have or an opportunity that you see exists. And you want to communicate that in this grant application. Important to note that grants need to supplement, but not replace private investment in training. So we want to make sure you're adding a new capacity to your organization, not just paying for existing training that you have. There is a dollar for dollar match that the grant requires. And primarily how we meet that match, or how an organization meets that match, is through wages that you're paying your staff to do the training. It's the primary reason, or primary way we do this. You can apply anytime the grant is open, and application decisions are made within 60 days. There is a 1-year waiting period between general program grants. Last year, we did give away $9.5 million in grant funds to 135 Massachusetts employers, and we trained just under 7,500 folks with general program grants. So it's very good. Thank you. Here's another fancy graphic. So when you're thinking about a general program grant, you definitely need to take your time and go through the different steps. And this maps it out for you. You would prepare for this. You do a business needs assessment within your organization. You'd identify the business problem that you're having or an opportunity. And you would determine what would success look like for you. You would think about that after the training. What would it do? You would explore and source your training vendors, and then you would gather your materials to figure out an application or to do it. You'd have those compliance documentation, and course descriptions, a cover letter. If you are part of a consortium grant, you would have consortium partner letters included. And if you're a union shop, you'd include a union letter. And you would get your, you would start your application process. And that application, again, is strategic. You want to talk about your training plan. What's your objective? You want to plan it out with training courses and training costs. And you want to identify who's going through the training and what wages are you paying them. We'll need that information. And then the training impact. What kind of impact will the training have on your job retention and your job growth, increased wages for your staff, key performance indicators for your organization? How are you going to measure that? And then you would submit your application in to our review board that goes through the applications. There is a priority for the grants on smaller businesses in Massachusetts. Um, if you also jobs that have the potential to be offshored, that's a higher priority. If there is net growth in a growth in jobs in Massachusetts, that's a priority. And also supplementing that training rather than replacing that training, that's a priority as well. When you submit that application, the either yes, you were awarded a grant or no, you were not awarded a grant, that time period is approximately 60 days. Um, and then next slide, please, for the next process. And if you are approved for your grant, plan on approximately 90 plus days from the day that you submit your application to starting training. If you are awarded, you get an email saying, yay, you were awarded a grant. You're assigned a program manager for your grant, and you complete a 1 hour orientation that goes through some requirements for that grant, which includes quarterly reporting. And in most cases for the payments for the grants, they come in increments of 25%. Consortium grants are reimbursement grants only. Then you would sign a contract and have a DocuSign contract for the 2 year grant period. And then next slide, please. Thank you. So a priority for the Workforce Training Fund is English for Speakers of Other Languages, ESOL, as we say for short. It really is some of the most important work that we do at the General and Express grant programs. It definitely is probably the most transformative training that we fund. It's available Express, General, and then I'll talk about a bridge grant in just a minute. But in the general program grant, if you're creating a large grant, you can include ESOL for staff and as well as other training topics. So it can be in combination. And we do encourage um, every company to think about English proficiency within their workforce and how it could really help the organization if it was better. Uh, if you have a general program grant and you have ESOL as some of the courses in it, there's a 1 year wait period between general program grants, and you can apply though for this ESOL bridge grant close to the end of your general program grant. There's no waiting period for that. It can continue your ESOL teaching for a 1 year grant in between that to keep up the proficiency of your staff. So we encourage that. Yeah, thanks. There are some limitations for the grant. These are state funds. You are not able to have an internal trainer train for the grant. It also can't be self-dealing. Basically, you can't have family members doing the training, no nepotism in the training. Um, no consulting services. The grant's focused more on teaching, instructional time as opposed to creating a sellable work product. No mandated training. Anything that's legally mandated, we can't fund. And if you have existing training commitments, we can't backtrack and train that. This has to be a new capacity. And then when we say no training that is primarily self-directed, that is training that is primarily asynchronous, learn on your own time. It's fine to have a portion of a course that has some pieces of self-directed time, but the main focus of the instruction needs to be more in-depth instructor-led training, either virtually or in person. But a little bit is okay. And then general program grants can't fund topics that you've had in a previous grant. So if you have trained on leadership and you apply for another grant a year later, we can't fund it at that time. You as an organization are expected to maintain the capabilities of what you were training previously. There are on our website really specific program guidelines, and I do recommend that that's where you go to learn more and read more about the grants. And the next slide, please. All right. So getting started, you can check out our website. Here is a link to it. There is a lot of information there on about both grants, and a lot of solution articles. When you go, if you are starting a grant and you want to set up an application account with us, you will need your tax ID number, your FEN number to do that. We plan on awarding $2 million each month, so it's a great time to apply. Don't wait. If you're thinking about it, I would definitely get that application in. Next slide. All right. Thank you so much to Sarah and Joe and Mass MEP for having me here today. You can check out that information on our website. Like I said, specific questions, program support, there's a WTFP at comcorp.org. My colleagues there will definitely answer any of your questions. And I hope this was helpful information on the overview of the Workforce Training Fund program grants. Thank
Perfect.
you.
Thank you so much, Mary Beth. That was very insightful. Um, and again, so just to reiterate, we will have like questions at the end. So if anybody has questions about what Mary Beth presented or after what Joe and I speak about here, feel free to, we'll leave some time to get those answered for you. So now that we sort of have a foundation that Mary Beth laid and kind of what's expected through ComCorp and the regulations and requirements and all of that, for compliance. So I do kind of want to take the next few slides just to walk you through what working with Mass MEP can look like and how we can best support you through the process. So our grant assistance we've broken it down into a 5-step process. So step one is to review the required documentation with the company that Mary Beth kind of went over, right? So going, the certificate of compliance, the W-9, certificate of good standing, all of those things, and ensuring that the companies will be requesting those. There are, like the certificate of compliance, which is new, there are, I guess, limitations to the validity of the document. So those last only for 30 days. So we sort of have to be a little bit strategic in when we tell the companies to go ahead and request those. So we assist with things like that. We assist with the application development and overall submission to the ComCorp portal, if the company asks or would like that. We run through the training schedule and help coordinate any third-party vendor opportunities that the companies would like to have. So if they're applying and they want to have more training vendors involved other than Mass MEP, we welcome that. We often recommend other training vendors for certain trainings that we don't offer in-house. So we assist with that. The step 4 is the overall grant implementation and the training delivery. And then the final step is the reporting, the documentation, and then the reimbursement, the final reimbursement. And then we offer ongoing support and communication throughout if there's issues that come up. A business development like Joe, who's on the call, or myself, a grants team member, we're happy to jump on a call and assist through, any issues that need to be brought to ComCorp's attention.
And Sarah, if I could just add on that slide real quick.
Yes.
Really, your engagement and your support with Mass MEP comes before you even get started. And we're helping you define some of the things that Mary Beth had outlined. Okay, what is the competency we're going to try and increase within our organization? How are we training our incumbent workforce and for what particular goal? If you're a manufacturer in Massachusetts, you have a partner in Mass MEP. There are multiple business development advisors throughout the state. I myself work primarily in the Southeast corridor, and I'm working on multiple general grants right now that we don't exactly know how this grant is going to go, but we're working based on business goals and then backing into what particular trainings and developmental learning are going to help us get here. So you have a partner in Mass MEP early, you have a partner in Mass MEP throughout your application, and you have a partner in Mass MEP throughout the delivery of that training over 24 months. So just please leverage us every step of the way. We are here to help. It's not easy to build a 24-month program. So please lean on us for that.
Thanks, Joe.
You're welcome.
So just to break down kind of each step in the process, going along, perfectly with what Joe just said. So we start with sort of a no obligation conversation just to better understand your business needs, your workforce needs, what your overall goals are. We can assist and help determining, is the general program a best fit? Is it the express program? How do we utilize both of them together? Especially with the new, updates that you can now have them coexisting together. So kind of go through an overall, what are your objectives based conversation, help answer any questions about the program requirements, and then set up any expectations for you so that you can relay this back to your company on any next steps. Step 2, so the actual application development and submission. So we find that this is often where some companies can stall in the process just because it can be so overwhelming, right? Like Joe said, like it's not easy to put together a 24-month training plan. So we want to be that, avenue of support for you. So we help ensure that all of the required documentation is, going to be collected. We do have tools in-house that we can help us along the way. We often utilize a budget spreadsheet with each company to help track how match can be made through the employee wages, and then the number of employees that are planning to be trained throughout each course. It's sort of a working document throughout the process, so things can change, it ebbs and it flows, but we find that a lot of people and a lot of companies find it useful to have that sort of focal point for the conversations. We help companies also, complete a grant questionnaire, which can help decide, overall project objectives like challenges, what opportunities, the KPIs or the key performance indicators, as Mary Beth talked about, that are required. So we can help sort of navigate those answers and how to best formulate those for a most successful application. Step 3, so the training schedule and the third-party vendor coordination. So once everything is, submitted and gets approved, we essentially work with you and any of your selected training providers to schedule a structured program for 24 months. So again, it's a long period of time. We understand that, it can be hard to take people off the floor at certain times, whether they be managers, shop floor, things like that. So we want to make sure that we're scheduling the training and getting you set up for success. And we're scheduling it around what works best for you and your team. We will communicate the requirements to our internal project managers so that they're on board with the overall goal and objectives for the training and making sure that it stays compliant with the scope of the grant, and just preparing the employees, making sure everybody's on the same page for the training kickoff to start.
Sarah, if I can just add here as well.
Please.
24 months is a long time. 24 months is not a long time. And
yes,
when you're thinking about, especially on a longer term general grant, you really have to sit down and say, how much time are we willing to commit to training and developing our team? Because the idea of these grants is that it's delivering that foundational knowledge that can allow you to transform your organization from an operational perspective. We do not want this to become a burden upon you, which you are not interested in doing, though. So if you think about the maximum grant award in a general grant right now is $200,000. The max reimbursement amount is $300 per hour. So that's 666 hours of training in a maximum grant. 83 working days, 16 weeks. Now, if you have enough people to support that and you can invest in that group and that works for you, that's wonderful. But if you can't take people off the floor, you have to recognize that. Otherwise, you end up just coming up against it. And, it's a way that grants can get out of control and become not as impactful for your organization. So really, I always try to advise my clients to right size this for you, understand the bite that you're taking and how much time you're going to have to commit. And if that works for your team, perfect. And if it sounds like it's overwhelming on day one, well, it's definitely going to sound overwhelming 18 months in, I can promise you that. So just think about how much time can we commit and make sure you have buy-in from the top of the organization all the way down to the shop floor. For these programs to be sustainable and impactful, everyone has to be bought in. And when it all works, it's great. When it doesn't, it can be much more challenging. So just some things to think about as you build out your programs.
Thanks, Joe.
You're welcome.
So for step 4, the actual grant implementation and training delivery. So like Joe said, we like to stay in communication with companies throughout the 24-month period. So you will hear from us regularly, aside from working directly with the project manager on the training. You don't just hear from us when something's wrong. We want to make sure that the project's staying on track, keeping it on schedule, because if you get to a point where you're finding that the training, schedule's not working and then it just gets set aside, it can get ugly pretty quickly at the end, just because you're scrambling, you're trying to figure out how to make this work. So we don't want anybody to feel that pressure or get in that situation. So just ensuring that the training stays within the scope and monitoring that to make sure that, nobody's scrambling at the end of the 24-month period. Step 5, and then the reporting, the documentation and reimbursement. So this is also something that we help with throughout the grant as well. So there's quarterly reporting that is required, as well as the reimbursement requests that are required for both. The Express has a final reimbursement, but for the general grant, there's quarterly reporting that's required, and there's a document, and you sort of learn about this on an orientation call with Commonwealth Corporation. And I would say 95% of the time, we're often on it with the company, just to ensure that everybody's on the same page. So we want to kind of go that extra step and make sure that everybody makes this as successful as possible. And that includes the reporting deadlines. So if you're overwhelmed with the spreadsheet, we are happy to jump on a call and discuss it with you and just make sure that you're getting everything filled out appropriately so that reimbursement doesn't end up at risk or there's issues and then back and forth with ComCorp. So we just want to kind of mitigate those unforeseen issues with the reporting and the reimbursements as much as possible. And then this kind of goes along with Mary Beth's slide about what ComCorp funds with Workforce Training Fund program. So these are sort of more of the main topics or the most popular topics that we see with the general grants that we help submit. So lean manufacturing, continuous improvement, quality management systems, the ISO standards, cybersecurity is a really big one right now. Industry 4.0, automation, additive, all those things are, very popular. And if there's a training that, as I said before, that Mass MEP doesn't necessarily offer in-house, we do have a lot of expertise between our BDAs, project managers, to offer or suggest a different training provider or third-party provider that may offer it. So we're happy to sort of lend that expertise out as well, so that companies can reach their goal of what training they're trying to complete. And just overall, why work with Mass MEP, right? Why pick us? I think that we have demonstrated a lot of experience through working through these grants, whether it be General Express or consortium. We worked with ComCorp for a very long time before my time here at Mass MEP. We've had a long-standing relationship. We've always worked extremely well with ComCorp. We like to upstand that, and we want to be sure that we're not only maximizing, your funding, but also staying compliant with ComCorp's regulations and their compliance. And I think we just provide that dedicated support around the clock for the companies that maybe they wouldn't get otherwise. So I think from the initial conversation through that final reimbursement piece, I mean, we're truly there every step of the way with that ongoing support. We are coming up on 30 years at Mass MEP, so congratulations to us. But I think that we've sort of demonstrated a path where we've been successful in the past, and we want to continue that. And I think we're excited to work with companies, and we're excited to continue down that successful path of submitting applications for you. And then just to briefly touch, of course, CompCorp and the General Grant Express Grant, we work with them often and very familiar with them, but there are other ways to partner with Mass MEP. So we have two other opportunities through Mass Tech Collaborative or Center for Advanced Manufacturing. The MMAP and the M2I2, which are geared more towards capital equipment, so funding capital equipment to improve technology, process improvements. So those are two opportunities. We have a dedicated person for the MMAP, which is myself, and then a dedicated person for the M2I2, which is Christina, and I have her information on the next slide if you think that that would be a good fit, or even just to have an initial conversation. We're happy to do that. And then we also have, I would say, a newer program, the Apex Accelerator. They are a branch off of Mass MEP, but they are their own program. So they basically offer assistance to manufacturers for federal, state, and local government contracts. So issues or help with SAM.gov registration, certification support, and then DoD and state contracting guidance as needed. So definitely other opportunities to work with Mass MEP. And here I have listed all of our contact information. So the Apex director, and Christina, the M2I2, and then myself and Joe for MMAP and Workforce Training Fund grants and all things. So if anybody has any questions, I can't see the screen, so please let me know, Joe or Mary Beth, if anybody has questions on anything that was presented.
Yep. If anybody raises a hand, I'll be able to see it here. And while you guys are thinking about your questions, I'm just gonna give my quick 2 cents on both the Express and the General program.
Yes.
Like Mary Beth said, your Express program, this is your fast, menu-driven type of program. I consider this like a tapas menu. This is a small bites type of engagement. It doesn't mean it's not delicious. It doesn't mean it's not impactful, but it's easy to get into. It's easy to define something that would be beneficial for your company. Documentation is rather straightforward to get your hands on. We can walk you through an application. You could be training within 30 days of the start. You want to sit down for Thanksgiving dinner and have 8 courses and spend all day. This is your General Grants program, right? We're spending a lot more time building this, developing those KPIs, understanding the competencies that we're trying to increase, understanding our business goals and how that aligns with a particular training program. In a lot of cases, an Express grant can lead to a General grant because we're using it to establish a foundational base as a step one, and then figuring out what does this uncover and say that, oh, these are things that are actually really important to our company. Now we can look at building a larger General grant around that support structure. So the two work hand in hand in a lot of ways. And for a lot of the trainings in Express, or through a General grant, the funding will provide a significant subsidy, if not a 100% subsidy for this work. So really, it's an opportunity. We should be trying to take advantage of it whenever possible for ourselves as companies here in the state. So yeah, that's just my little quick breakdown on Express versus General. I like to mention that to people. So let's open it up for questions.
Appreciate that, Joe. Yeah, so any questions? Nothing in the chat that I can see. No questions? Wow. That means we did a really good job, guys. And then if you can't think of any questions now, obviously, we're here. We'll be sending out the slides, so you'll have Mary Beth's information, Commonwealth's information, as well as Joe and myself. So we're happy to help answer any questions you have, set up a call, whatever works, for you all.
And we're happy to be here and support you. We're all part of Team Massachusetts here, whether it's ComCorp or MassMEP or Mass Office of Business Development or Mass Econ or Mass Development. You have a ton of resources at your disposal here in the state. We're all in the same team. We're all interested in economic development and the success and the growth of the manufacturing sector here. So please reach out to us. We're always having conversations. I'm with manufacturers 3 to 5 days a week, generally speaking. All my colleagues are doing the same. So pick up the phone, give us a call, shoot us a text, throw the smoke signals up. We're here to help. So thank you very much. And Sarah, thank you for inviting me to join.
Yeah, thank you for being here. Todd, I think has a question. You should be able to talk now, Todd, I hope.
Hi, thank you.
Hi.
Just a quick question. Do most companies seem to like jump right into a general program, or do they kind of start out slowly and, start with the Express?
That's a
It's
good
all
question.
based on need, of course, but
Yeah, I don't know, Joe. Do you have any idea, like how do you find companies get started with general or
Yeah, in my experience, it usually starts smaller than a general grant. And whether that be through an express grant or some other sort of exploratory service or training effort, I haven't seen many jump directly into a general. Not to say that it doesn't happen, because I've
right?
seen a few where it does, but generally there's a ramp up to that.
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of companies do start small with the Express grant. They kind of get their feet wet a little bit. It's like it's basically just it's off the shelf training, right? So it's training that you want to do. Whereas the general grant it's more customizable. There's more thought that goes into it, as we explained. So I think doing the fast, express grant, it's just a quick hit, so to speak. So I think a lot of companies do tend to start there.
I will say,
okay, great.
I
Thank
will
you.
say from my experience, receiving the training grants, it's probably about half and half. We do get a fair amount of general grants that folks have not had any express grants prior to this. They maybe know right away what is happening and they just apply for it right away.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Any other questions, concerns, thoughts?
You guys did a great job. You answered all the questions, like you said.
No. Yeah, all right. So I think that should do it for now. We will send out the slides. We will send out the recording so everybody will have access to that. And if anything comes up, at any point in time, like we've reiterated, like please reach out to us. We're here. We're happy to help. We want to support the manufacturers in any way we possibly can. So happy to do that. And I appreciate you all for joining today.
Yes, thank you everyone for joining. Thank you, Mary Beth. Thank you, Sarah, for having me. It's great to be here.
Thanks for having me today. It's good
Thanks.
to be here.